News 10 NBC at 4 starts with your First Alert weather now.
I am First Alert meteorologist Stacey Pengen up on the News 10 NBC Sky Deck on this fine Thursday afternoon. It is finally feeling a bit more like November. Beautiful looking sky as we've started to clear those clouds out very nicely. 54 degrees our current temperature. Again, sitting under a mostly sunny sky. The wind is just a little breezy. Not bad though, out of the west at 12 miles an hour. We are green on the threat tracker, which means our weather stays nice and quiet. 50s through the rest of this evening, 40s overnight tonight. And despite a slight chill to the air and a mainly clear sky, a busy breeze tonight is going to keep our temperatures from falling into the 30s like they otherwise could have. Friday looks pretty good. Good deal of sunshine, afternoon clouds, but you are going to notice a busy wind. I'll show you how strong those gusts are going to be coming up.
In depth, investigative. This is News 10 NBC at 4.
We continue to follow breaking news. More than 24 people injured today after a bus overturned on 490 in Chilai. Look at that. Good Samaritans driving by pulled over to help.
They definitely helped save lives from the standpoint that you had confused people in a state of shock wandering around on 490.
The bus overturned and spun across 490 this morning. Right now, investigators are still trying to figure out what caused the driver to lose control. Here's what we know at this hour. The Flix bus left New York City around midnight, headed to Niagara Falls. It made several stops along the thruway to pick and drop off passengers. And then around 7 this morning, it went off the road on 490 West in the town of Chilai. We have team coverage with Berkeley Breen live at Strong Memorial Hospital, where more than a dozen passengers were treated. But we begin with Jennifer Lukey live in Chilai, where the westbound lanes are now back open. And Jen, you got there shortly after the crash. I can't even imagine what that response was like.
Yeah, Nikki, it was absolutely massive. I live in the town of Chilai, not far from here, actually, and for about 30 minutes straight, all you could hear around this town were sirens. Crews just racing here to the scene to assist. Now, 490 westbound was shut down for almost all of the day. It just reopened about 30 minutes ago because investigators were trying to piece together how this happened. The initial 911 calls came in right around 7 a.m.
At least 6 on the ground, a bunch of walking wounded. I would say we probably need at least 10 ambulances and maybe some sort of heavy wrecker.
Turns out even more resources were necessary. All 28 people on board, including a child, were transported to area hospitals.
We ended up using 18 ambulances, which for this area is incredible. It's an incredible response.
First responders from across the area worked together to triage the passengers, many of whom were able to get themselves out of the bus, but were walking around disoriented on the side of the highway.
The fact that there were people out walking along 490, and of course you got a bus turned over on the side, you got people possibly trapped, we don't know who's on the bus yet. It was that surreal moment, you know, you train for these things, but when you pull up and actually see a bus flipped on its side and people literally walking in a state of confusion on the side of the road trying to figure out what just happened to them as they were just thrown about inside a bus, right? So it was surreal.
At the moment, the driver is cooperating with the investigation. The sheriff's department says there are no signs he was impaired by drugs or alcohol, and it does not appear any other vehicles were involved or triggered the accident.
We're going to take the bus back to a secure impound where that will continue with the investigation. It'll go through a complete and thorough mechanical inspection to make sure that it's up to standard and all of the safety requirements, everything, to make sure that the driver was performing all of their tasks as needed according to New York State DOT regulations. So this will be a lengthy investigation.
And within the last few minutes, we have learned that the driver of the bus was ejected out the front window, but he is okay and was actually on scene trying to render first aid to some of his passengers when first responders got here. But within the last hour or so, he has been ticketed for 4 different offenses: fatigue driving, unsafe lane change, unreasonable speed, and failing to wear his seatbelt. The sheriff's department says he is still cooperating with them and their investigation is ongoing. They have, Nikki, towed the bus off of 490 back to a secured impound lot where it is being reviewed and inspected with a fine-tooth comb, and all of the inspection records and the safety records of the company who owns that bus, that's all under investigation still as well.
You hear so many times about the dangers of fatigued driving, and this appears to be an example. Jen, thank you. I know you've been out there all day covering this. We'll check back in with you later. 16 passengers, including the one critically hurt, went to Strong Hospital. News 10 NBC's chief investigative reporter Berkeley Breen is live at the hospital. He continues our team coverage this afternoon. Now, Burke, you just spoke with the doctor who treated them. How's everybody doing?
Well, we still have that one person in the operating room, Nikki. That is the one passenger who was critically injured. There are other people here as well. You're going to hear the head of the emergency department say they're dealing with significant injuries, but they're also dealing with passengers that were hurt so slightly they might get out of the hospital soon. We did learn at this news conference that the passengers are from around the world. 12 of them were trapped inside the bus after it rolled over and slid 600 feet along 490. The other passengers, as you heard the sheriff say, were wandering around the crash site. The county has secured a hotel for the passengers who are out of the hospital and any of their family members who come here to try to get them. There are 14 people at that hospital right now. The head of the ER at Strong says they're dealing with head injuries, body injuries, and injuries to arms and legs.
One of the patients is very critical and has been in the operating room. There are a couple other patients with significant injuries, other patients with moderate injuries, and then a number of patients that will be discharged from the hospital.
Visit Rochester stepped up, identified and secured a hotel that we've been working with individuals from this morning to house until they can be essentially so they can get a plan to get home. Also, those who are waiting for loved ones to be released from the hospital as well, they have a place to stay. And those who are being released from the hospital, as they're released, will be able to go to this hotel as well while we look to figure out how to reunify them with their families.
11 passengers went to RGH, 4 went to Unity Hospital in Greece. Rochester Regional, which runs those two hospitals, told us in a news release recently that they're already starting to release some of those patients. I asked the county executive where this hotel was, and he told me he was asked not to reveal its location. We're live at Strong Hospital, Berkeley Breen, News 10, NBC.
Now, we heard about the driver, but what about the passengers? Were they wearing their seatbelts?
The answer from the sheriff's office was no, they were not. We don't know if there were seatbelts on the bus. If they were not wearing them.
Wow. All right. Berkeley Breen live there at Strong Hospital. Thank you, Burke. Again, 28 people hurt in this morning's bus crash on 490 in Chile. They were on a Flix bus operated by Tribal Sun Bus Company out of Massachusetts. That bus driver has been ticketed for driving fatigued, speeding, unsafe lane change, and failing to wear a seatbelt. Watch our continued coverage coming up in the next half hour. In Wayne County, a Palmyra man has pleaded guilty to child pornography charges. John Ulrich is facing up to 30 years in prison and a $250,000 fine for production of child pornography. The investigation started in March after authorities learned the 54-year-old was sexually abusing a 14-year-old on a weekly basis for over a year. Sentencing is scheduled for next March. New at 4, Rochester police have arrested 2 people they say were involved in a shooting. Police found 2 men shot on East Main Street just after midnight back on October 23rd. Well, both men were taken to Strong Hospital. Investigators tell us Raquel Quinn began arguing with one of the victims she'd recently had a child with. Police say Quinn and her son, Christopher Bermudez, then shot one victim multiple times and stabbed the other. Now, during the investigation, police found these guns at a house on Dewey Avenue that Bermudez had reported stolen. Quinn and Bermudez are both facing assault and gun charges. An update now on the water main break in Brighton. We're told that break has since been repaired. Here's what it looked like near Penfield Road and East Avenue around 3:30 this morning. You can see all that water. A nearby high-rise apartment was impacted by this water main break. And the ramp from East Avenue onto 490 was shut down while crews worked to fix that issue. A longtime restaurant in Pittsford closed after 30 years in business. Its contents will soon be sold. Up next, how you can bring home a piece of Benucci's. And a sign of progress at one of Rochester's theaters. Up next, what was revealed today at West Her Auditorium Theater as part of its restoration project. And new at 5, voters had a lot of feelings about the election results. We'll show you how experts recommend dealing with post-election emotions. That story all new on News 10 NBC at 5.
Don't settle for less than the best. At Tops, our commitment to bringing you the best value has never wavered. Save on the brands you love most, every day in every aisle, with the best deals in town, only at Tops.
At Polano & Company, we take the stress out of Medicare. We guide you through the enrollment process online, over the phone, or in person. We help you navigate the A, B, C's, and D's of Medicare. Call or visit online.
Raymore and Flanagan's Veterans Day sale is on now with savings up to $1,300. Don't miss unbeatable deals like $1,300 off the Carson Power Sectional, $900 off the Coventry bedroom set, and $750 off the Castleton dining set. Plus, get it before the holidays with delivery in 3 days or less on thousands of items. You can also save big on top mattress brands or take advantage of financing and pay no interest for 72 months. Grab Veterans Day savings today at Raymore and Flanagan.
Over the last few years, we've redefined what working remotely means, and so is the Ford F-150. Bring your desk wherever you go with a flat interior work surface. Drop down the tailgate to get it all done, and plug in what you need outside the cab with available Pro Power on board. How's that for upping your productivity? Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Get your F-150 hybrid with $10,323 in total savings, plus 3.9% APR for 60 months.
When it's time to pack up and go, Rochester goes with Sheridan Brothers Moving. Sheridan Brothers are problem solvers across town, across the country, or maybe just downsize and declutter. You can count on our family to move your family. Sheridan Brothers Moving.
Truck crash? Call Salino. We get you paid when you call 8.
Get alerted first.
With News 10 NBC's First Alert Weather Days.
Green means all clear.
Yellow, keep watch.
And red, severe weather is coming.
Always know what's coming.
With News 10 NBC's First Alert Weather Days.
Shop the best deals in town at Tops and get a Christmas bonus every time. Save $10 on these $50 gift cards all season long. Only at Tops.
The Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester serves people with a breast or gynecologic cancer diagnosis. Our support and education programs are free of charge. Reach out online or call us. You are not alone.
In depth, investigative. This is News 10 NBC at 4 with Nikki Rudd and meteorologist Stacy Pengen with your First Alert forecast.
A longtime restaurant in Pittsford has closed after 30 years in business, but soon you can bring home some of its history. Benucci's closed last month after the owners decided to retire. I remember going to, bridal showers, baby showers there. The contents of the restaurant will be auctioned online through November 19th. We're talking about kitchen equipment, chairs, tables, paintings, and decor. For details on that auction, head on over to our website, WHEC.com. New at 4, we are seeing more progress today at the West Her Auditorium Theater in Rochester. A new LED sign outside the East Main Street entrance was revealed this afternoon. Take a look. That's the first step of Project Restoration. It's a 5-year, $65 million plan to revitalize this theater. The restoration plan also includes widened hallways, a new bar and lounge area, and an elevator to the second floor. Our BTL CEO, Arnie Rothschild, says the restored venue will benefit not only large productions, but smaller artist groups as well.
But for smaller arts groups to rehearse or perform, there's never been those spaces. In our plans, we're restoring multiple different size stages for rehearsals and entertainment, and we'll do multiple venues.
Phase 2 will begin next summer with plans to restore several more historic spaces, both inside and outside the theater. A dangerous wildfire in California causing destruction and evacuations. Look at this video. Up next, what is fueling those flames? And Rafael makes landfall in Cuba still ahead. The island reeling again after the second major hurricane for the island in just 2 weeks.
And I do have an update on Rafael. What strength storm is it right now? And most importantly, where is it headed? That's after the break.
Wendy Red Star's no water installation, now at MAG.
At Auto Outlet USA, we understand selling your car on your own can be risky. So instead, let us make you a competitive offer in a safe and friendly environment. At Auto Outlets USA, we only sell pre-owned vehicles, so your car is worth more to us. Come see why 3 out of 4 customers accept our competitive offer. Log on to AutoOutletUSA.com or come visit one of our 3 locations. At Auto Outlet USA, we take the pain out of selling your car.
Discover exquisitely crafted, handmade gifts at Craft Company No. 6. Find unique jewelry, woodwork, pottery, and one-of-a-kind pieces for your holiday shopping. Craft Company No. 6 in the neighborhood of the arts, 785 University Avenue.
Most women 40 and older should get a mammogram at least every 2 years.
Been putting this off way too long.
Routine mammograms can find breast cancer early.
I need to stop putting myself last.
When it's easier to treat.
You heard me. You ready? Yes, I am.
Finding breast cancer early can save lives. Ask your healthcare provider about a screening schedule that's right for you.
The Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester serves people with a breast or gynecologic cancer diagnosis. Our support and education programs are free of charge. Reach out online or call us. You are not alone.
I've been in different types of research studies with Rochester Clinical Research for as long as I can remember. My family says this is part of my legacy. I'm proud of that. Visit rcrclinical.com to sign up.
In order to fly, you need a place to take off. At Niagara University, you'll find community around every corner. Classes that take your learning to new heights. And professors who inspire you to achieve at the highest level. So come find your people, find your passion, find the very best version of yourself. Come find your wings at our next open house.
Rochester's #1 news is News 10 NBC. #1 in the morning, #1 in the evening, #1 at 11. In-depth, investigative, and first alert weather. Monday through Friday, every newscast. Rochester's #1 choice, News 10 NBC.
A fast-moving wildfire fueled by Santa Ana winds is tearing through communities across Southern California. As NBC's Dana Griffin reports, the fire has destroyed homes and forced thousands to evacuate.
At this hour, firefighters are still trying to tackle the mountain fire, which overnight grew to 14,000 acres. It is 0% contained, and wind gusts are expected to continue today. Right now, air quality is a major concern. We've seen gas crews coming door to door trying to turn off gas to homes like the one you see behind me. The gas line is what's fueling this flare up right behind us, and there are dozens of homes that look just like this burned to the ground. Now, what drove this intense wildfire? Santa Ana winds, and that occurs when you've got that desert air that blows east to west from the mountains to the coast. We've seen several evacuees fleeing their homes, many seeing their neighbors' homes go up in flames, and many are wondering if their homes are still standing. We know there have been some injuries, and even the wind has been a tough part for firefighters trying to make airdrops. We know that new evacuation orders are likely to continue, and officials say if you are told to evacuate, this is not the fire to try to wait it out. Dana Griffin, NBC News.
And crews are battling this wildfire in New Jersey. Several homes in Jackson Township had to be evacuated. Some of the fire can be seen from miles away. Firefighters say this is the 4th major wildfire in New Jersey in the last 2 weeks. New images from Cuba today after Rafael made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane yesterday. Look at those powerful winds. Knocked out the country's power grid. Millions have been in the dark. It's another blow for Cuba, which is still dealing with the aftermath of a hurricane that passed through 2 weeks ago. Rafael has weakened, and tropical storm conditions are expected in the Florida Keys later today. First Alert meteorologist Stacey Pension's been keeping a close eye on Rafael. And again, this is not expected to impact us here, right, Stace?
No, it is not. And as a matter of fact, it is expected to have minimal impact on the Sunshine State, which is good news considering they had Helene and Milton that they were contending with over the last few months. But here's the latest look at Rafael. It is a Category 2. It's been a Category 2 over the last few days here. Winds of 105 miles an hour. And it's only about 250 miles away from Florida. So if you have friends and family there, they might be saying, oh no. But the good news is it is headed west, and this is a consistent forecast over the last few days. So that is good news. I know a few days ago there were some questions whether or not it would actually head into, say, parts of Texas or Louisiana, but it is not expected to do that. It is expected to just kind of meander and move west through the Gulf of Mexico. Our threat tracker is green, which means no severe significant weather for us, but you will feel the wind tomorrow. It'll be noticeable. I don't see any issues. I don't see any power outages with this unless there's a limb that's ready to come down and a 30-mile-an-hour wind decides to bring that down. Saturday looks good. Sunday is going to start to turn a little wet. I want to touch on the wind. Initially tomorrow, it's going to be out of the west and maybe a little bit out of the southwest. Certainly breezy, but once our cold front comes through, notice the winds shift just enough out of the northwest that'll pull in some of that cooler air. And when we get that cooler air mixing in, it's when we get the strongest gusts. Again, I'm thinking anywhere from 30 to 35. I don't see anything higher than that at this point. 54 degrees, mostly sunny sky, wind out of the west at 12, and there is our cold front. You can barely pick it out. There's not really any rain associated with it and not much in the way of cloud cover. So we're good through the rest of the evening. We're falling through the 50s into the 40s, but that's it. Mid-40s by tomorrow morning, mostly sunny start to the day. Right there, that cold front comes through with an uptick in the cloud cover. Winds will pick up just a little bit out of the northwest, and then we're going to clear things out pretty nicely as we head into Friday night and Saturday morning. So we start the weekend beautifully, mostly sunny sky, but it's going to be cooler, upper 40s. I think Sunday morning, look at that, starting likely in the 30s, headed into the upper 50s. Sunshine to start Sunday, but clouds thicken up and the rain will start to move in. So a wet end to the weekend. A lot of that should clear out by Veterans Day on Monday. So okay weather, though a mostly cloudy sky. Tuesday, Wednesday are both actually looking all right, but rain is going to start to move in Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and then a little punch of chillier air by the end of next week.
Once again, nice color, Stace.
I know. I mean, we sort of planned it today, but not really.
Right. We were wearing red for some promos that we're shooting. Christmas is coming. Let's just tease that. Thank you, Stace. Yep. Well, a big announcement from the Federal Reserve this afternoon. Up next, the Fed's latest decision on interest rates, what it means for your money and the economy's future. And the Rochester Amherst are supporting the fight against cancer. Details on how you can get involved. That's coming up after the break.
Hey, DeMar, what's up?
So I got this friend of mine. He wants a new car, but he's still stuck in his lease.
Tell him to bring it to Vision. We'll wipe his lease clean. We'll get him in a brand new Vision vehicle.
Even if it's got too many miles on it, he drives from Buffalo to Rochester often to shoot commercials.
Oh, yeah, even if it has too many miles on it, we can do that.
Even if someone dinged his door, it was parked over by the stadium.
Tell him to bring it to Vision. We'll wipe it clean. Tell your friend to follow his heart to Vision.
It was very stressful for me to go to the dentist because there was always something. I started refusing to take pictures with people. Highbridge changed my life.
Enjoy amazing deals on top mattress brands during Raymore and Flanigan's Veterans Day mattress sale. Save up to $600 on Beautyrest Black, up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic, up to $400 on Sealy, and more. Our mattresses are in stock and ready for free next day delivery. Discover the mattress of your dreams for as little as $15 per month with no interest for 72 months. Transform your sleep and save during Raymore and Flanigan's Veterans Day mattress sale.
You're a mean one. Mr. Grinch.
The timeless story you know and love is now Broadway's #1 holiday hit musical, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical. Catch the Grinch in this heartwarming holiday classic, perfect for the entire family. 100 times better than any bedtime story. Cheers the New York Times. December 3rd through the 8th at West Her Auditorium Theater. On sale at Ticketmaster.com. Catch the Grinch live for the holiday.
At Fontes, we have Pride Power Lift Chairs. They are functional and fashionable and made in the USA. They come in a variety of colors and fabrics. Available with heat and massage, cup holders, power lumbar, and even a place to charge your phone. Quality and reliability you can count on. Fontes, your home medical equipment superstore. Why shop anywhere else?
Social Security Disability. It was designed to ease the burdens of an illness, injury, or health condition.
But now that you're trying to collect your benefits, it feels like the system is letting you down. If you need your Social Security disability benefits, it's Hiller time. Call 866-HILLER-LAW.
Black Friday is on now. Save up to 100% off only at The Source.
AirQuip Heating and Air Conditioning is proud to sponsor News 10 NBC's First Alert live camera network. Real-time storm tracking and live conditions from across our region.
In today's Consumer Alert, a decision just in on interest rates from the Federal Reserve. The Fed just announced it's cutting interest rates by 0.25 percentage point. It's the second rate cut since the central bank began to lower borrowing costs in September. Though the latest cut is smaller, it still provides relief from the high cost of credit cards, auto loans, and other debt. Slower inflation and a cooling job market paved the way for today's announcement. More rate cuts are expected next year. How many is up in the air because of the potential impacts of President-elect Donald Trump's proposed policies. Now, a look at how Wall Street is responding. The Dow Jones down about 63 points to 43,666. You can see the NASDAQ and S&P 500 are up. NASDAQ up about 244 and the S&P 500 up 31. The Rochester Amherst will host their annual Hockey Fights Cancer Night next week, when the team hosts the Laval Rockets at the Blue Cross Arena. Mark your calendars. The game on Saturday, November 16th, raises money for the cancer support community at Gilda's Club. The event has raised more than $32 million for cancer support across the American Hockey League since 1998. The Amherst will wear special lavender jerseys, look at those, during the game that night. I like them. We continue to follow breaking news. A bus overturned on 490 in Shiloh. More than 24 people hospitalized. Still ahead, the rescue efforts, plus what we know about how the victims are doing at this hour. And
something I hope we can do no matter who you voted for. To see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans.
President Biden addressing the nation today for the first time since Donald Trump won the race for the White House. What Mr. Biden is promising. And you know it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas when you see this. The journey begins for the Rockefeller Christmas tree. It's all ahead on News 10 NBC at 4:30.
There's DNA. Then there's heavy-duty DNA. HDNA. It's engineered into every aspect of the GMC Sierra HD. With the pulling power to prove it. Tow hitches of the world. Prepare for glory. Get 3.9% APR on 2024 Sierra heavy-duty models. We are professional grade GMC.
From London to New York and around the world, from the stage to the big screen, the worldwide phenomenon returns. The original, record-breaking production returns to Rochester. Mamma Mia! Celebrate the 25th anniversary of the most exhilarating smash hit musical ever. Fall in love all over again with Mamma Mia. Coming to West Her Auditorium Theater November 19th through 24th. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
As we age, hearing can deteriorate, but your connection to the world shouldn't. At Clear Choice Hearing and Balance, we understand the unique challenges of hearing loss in later years. Our compassionate experts specialize in advanced hearing solutions tailored for senior citizens. From comprehensive hearing assessments to custom-fitted hearing aids, we ensure your hearing care meets your individual needs. Reconnect with the sounds of life. Clear Choice helps you hear in all environments. Make us your clear choice.
Jorge has always put the ones he loves first. But when it comes to caring for his teeth, he's let his own maintenance take a back seat. Well, maybe it's time to shift gears on that. Aspen Dental has complete, affordable care, all under one roof. Plus $29 exams and x-rays for new patients without insurance. And 20% off treatment plans for everyone. Making it easier to get started with quality care. It's one more way Aspen Dental is in your corner.
News 10 NBC at 4:30 starts with your First Alert weather now.
I am First Alert meteorologist Stacey Pengen on this sunny Thursday afternoon. Take a look at the roads here. Bay Bridge, 390 at West Henrietta Road, Ford at Exchange, and 104 at Holt. One thing in common there with all of them, lots of sunshine. So definitely going to need these sunglasses if you are just getting ready to head out the door right now. Temperatures are in the 50s, so I would also grab that jacket or sweatshirt. 52 in Brockport, 53 in Leroy, 54 in Hemlock, Canandaigua, 53, Palmyra, 54, and the Rochester Airport, 54 degrees. So we're good through the rest of the evening. We've already seen that nicely clearing sky. Green on the threat tracker, clear sky through the rest of the evening and overnight. And we're falling into the 40s, but we are tracking another cold front. I'll show you what that means for our temperatures on Friday coming up.
In-depth, investigative. This is News 10 NBC at 4:30.
We continue to follow breaking news. The driver of a bus that overturned on 490 in Chili has been issued several tickets, including speeding and fatigued driving. Investigators are still trying to figure out what caused the driver to lose control. Let's go back out to News 10 NBC's Jennifer Lukey live there in Chili. And Jen, I know you heard the sirens and actually left your house to go to the scene this morning.
Yeah, Nikki, I don't live too far from here at all, and the sirens were going off nonstop for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And so when we found out what was going on, I came straight here, and the massive response of first responders was impressive. I've been a reporter for almost 20 years, and it is one of the largest responses I have ever seen. Now, I want to kind of take you through what happened here. The bus overturned behind me on the westbound lanes, and when it did, it skidded another 200 yards before coming to rest. The driver, as you mentioned, has been issued 4 tickets, one for fatigue driving, another for unsafe lane change, unreasonable speed, and failing to wear a seatbelt. The Sheriff's Department believes he was going at least 70 miles per hour when this accident happened. Now, just to reiterate, the bus left from New York City around midnight, with its final destination being Niagara Falls, but it made stops along the thruway to pick people up, to drop people off. Right around 7 a.m. is when the accident happened. 28 people, including the driver, were on board at the time. Some of them were able to get themselves out, but more than 10 were either trapped or needed assistance getting out of the bus. It took 18 ambulances to transfer all of the passengers to 4 different local hospitals. It does not appear that any other vehicles were involved or triggered this accident.
They do have cameras on the bus. We'll be writing search warrants for all of that data, and we'll be processing that back at our office and trying to add that to our investigation and reconstruct what actually took place. We're going to take the bus back to a secure impound where that will continue with the investigation. It'll go through a complete and thorough mechanical inspection to make sure that it's up to standard and all of the safety requirements, everything, to make sure that the driver was performing all of their tasks as needed according to New York State DOT regulations. So this will be a lengthy investigation.
Again, just want to reiterate here, the driver late this afternoon was issued those 4 tickets. I'm told he has 20 years experience behind the wheel of a bus, and he actually wasn't wearing his seatbelt. He was ejected out the front window of the bus, but somehow was okay when first responders got here to the scene. Nikki, they say that driver was rendering first aid to some of the passengers who were injured as well.
70 miles per hour, ejected from the windshield, and only minor injuries. Amazing. Jen, we are approaching the evening commute. 490 is now back open in both directions, right?
It is, yes. The westbound lane reopened about 30 to 45 minutes ago. It was closed all day before that. The eastbound lane was closed right away after the accident, but that was only so that ambulances could get to the scene. That was reopened by 11 a.m. or so. So both lanes back open, traffic moving smoothly behind me.
All right, thank you so much, Jen. 16 passengers went to Strong Hospital, one in critical condition. When that bus flipped over, investigators say it slid 200 yards down the highway. Imagine what those passengers were thinking. And listen to this, the sheriff's office says none of the passengers were wearing seatbelts. When the sheriff's office declared a mass casualty, Strong Hospital started its emergency plan.
When we received word that we were receiving a number of patients, first thing we did is rally support. Timing kind of worked out with shift change and other people available in the hospital, so we gathered teams to have a team for each patient that was coming in. And each patient that comes in through a protocolized manner, we go head to toe, evaluating the patients for injuries, obtaining x-rays, CAT scans, and the like.
From law enforcement to the medical community, it's something they planned for. Monroe County secured a hotel for the passengers that get out of the hospital and for their families that come here. There are 14 people there now. The county did not identify that hotel. In other news, President Biden addressing the nation today after President-elect Trump's stunning victory. The president thanked Vice President Kamala Harris and pledged a peaceful transfer of power. As NBC's Alice Barr reports, the president also plans to meet with Trump at the White House in the coming weeks.
President Biden today stepping out of the White House he'll soon be moving out of, promising a peaceful transfer of power to the incoming Trump administration.
We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win.
The president and president-elect spoke by phone Wednesday, planning an upcoming sit-down at the White House as the Trump transition team based at Mar-a-Lago starts weighing names for cabinet positions, from members of Congress to Trump insiders. President-elect Trump speaking to foreign leaders Wednesday, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Xi Jinping of China, while the world awaits potential policy shifts and the broad coalition of American voters that fueled a resounding Trump win and flipped the Senate red looks for marked changes at home, especially on the economy.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
President Biden also praised his Vice President Kamala Harris as some point fingers at his delay in getting out of the race. Others blaming Democratic leadership more broadly. Vermont Senator and former presidential candidate Bernie Sanders writing, quote, "It should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that the working class has abandoned them." Vice President Harris urging her supporters not to throw up their hands, but to roll up their sleeves.
This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged.
Pledges from both sides to forge a new way forward. In an exclusive phone interview with NBC News today, President-elect Trump said one of his first priorities would be to make the border strong and powerful. Asked about his campaign promise of mass deportations of undocumented migrants, he said his administration would have no choice but to carry them out and that there would be no price tag. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, he was back in court today. He was ordered to report to court in New York City for missing a deadline to surrender belongings to 2 Georgia election workers he defamed. In October, a judge ordered him to hand over assets and other belongings after he was found liable for $146 million in damages to those women. Giuliani had this to say as he arrived to court.
To say about why your belongings were not inside your apartment?
They were. My apartment was filled with belongings, and they just lied.
Are you saying that all of your valuables were there?
All the things that were appropriate were there. And the apartment was pretty full with things. So they're lying completely. Every room had furniture.
Giuliani represented now President-elect Donald Trump after the 2020 election in an effort to reverse Trump's loss to President Joe Biden. 2 Jewish students attacked on campus. Do authorities suspect a hate crime at a college in Chicago? Up next, we have the latest on the investigation. And an iconic symbol of the holiday season. Check out this year's Rockefeller Christmas tree. She's a big one. We have all the details still ahead. And the winners are new at 5. Elon Musk's highly contested $1 million giveaway has announced the winners. But was any of this even legal? That story ahead on News 10 NBC at 5.
It's Clover's Ultimate Wellness Event. Spas from only $32.99 and saunas from only $19.99. All during Clover's Ultimate Wellness Event.
Why do you ride?
Why do I ride?
I like doing dangerous things safely.
I ride because I can't imagine not.
I'm kind of a gearhead.
I love being lost. There's no way I'm putting a GPS on my bike.
Knees in the breeze, man. It's like, there's nothing like it.
There's a love for riding that can't be explained unless you ride. And if you're ever injured on a motorcycle, we're ready to help. Hurt on a motorcycle? Call William Mattar, 444-4444.
When it comes to tree removal, choose a cut above the rest. Flower City Tree. Our #1 priority is you. That means unequaled quality, safety, and customer service. Flower City Tree's leading edge equipment and approach gets the job done efficiently and protects your property. From the first call to cleanup, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Trust the company that is a cut above the rest. Flower City Tree.
Stop by 1100 Jefferson Road to view our extensive inventory of Generac home standby generators.
Reimagine exceptional with the 2024 Buick Envision. With advanced technology and breathtaking clarity, and quiet serenity within. Experience confident driving, an all-wheel drive that takes you wherever you need to go. Make every day an occasion. Buick, exceptional by design.
Current eligible Buick lessees get this ultra-low mileage lease on this 2024 Envision Sport Touring all-wheel drive for around $319 per month.
Raymore and Flanagan's Veterans Day sale is on now with savings up to $1,300. Don't miss unbeatable deals like $1,300 off the Carson Power Sectional, $900 off the Coventry bedroom set, and $750 off the Castleton dining set. Plus, get it before the holidays with delivery in 3 days or less on thousands of items. You can also save big on top mattress brands or take advantage of financing and pay no interest for 72 months. Grab Veterans Day savings today at Raymore and Flanagan.
Hi, it's Leanne. At Lisa's, we have Rochester's largest selection of wine and liquor, and we're going to continue to offer you the best deals in town, like this one. Josh Wines is a fan favorite in Rochester. It comes in 10 delicious types. Mix and match a case of 12 and save $24 with a mail-in rebate. Don't miss out on this great deal from our friends at Josh Cellars. So come visit our massive superstore. You have to see it to believe it. Only at Lisa's Liquor Barn in Penfield. Why pay more?
The Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester serves people with a breast or gynecologic cancer diagnosis. Our support and education programs are free of charge. Reach out online or call us. You are not alone.
Deanna Dewberry, only on News 10 NBC.
Police in Chicago are investigating a possible hate crime at DePaul University. Police say 2 Jewish students were attacked on campus yesterday afternoon by 2 people in masks. Both students were punched before the suspects took off. Police are investigating to determine if this attack can be classified as a hate crime that targeted the students because of their Jewish identity. At least 1 person was killed following an explosion at a home in Utah. Look at what's left of that place. That home was engulfed in flames when first responders got there yesterday afternoon. Neighboring homes had to be evacuated, and crews eventually found a body inside the rubble. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation. New at 4:30, the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree is getting ready for its journey to New York City. The Norway spruce hails from Massachusetts and was cut down this morning. The tree was then loaded onto a truck for the 140-mile trip to Manhattan. Can you imagine seeing that roll down 490? This is the first Rockefeller Center Christmas tree from Massachusetts since 1959. The tree will arrive at Rockefeller Center this Saturday with a lighting ceremony set for December 4th, which I believe you can probably watch right here on News 10 NBC. And looking ahead, the Nutcracker Magical Christmas Ballet is returning to Rochester this holiday season. The ballet is the largest touring production of its kind, featuring dancers from all over the world. You can catch the performance this Saturday at West Her Auditorium Theater. Back to the White House, Melania Trump will soon be the First Lady again. Up next, a look back at her 4 years, plus what we might expect for her second time around. And not your average guard dog. Are you seeing this? Still ahead, a look at security outside Donald Trump's estate in Florida. Oh my. And as we head to break, here's a live look from the News 10 NBC sky deck. Look at those colors. Beautiful sunset coming up, temps in the 50s. What can we expect for the weekend? Stacey's first alert forecast is just minutes away.
I'm Brett Davidson. Here's what we're working on for News 10 NBC at 5. Our breaking news coverage continues of the bus crash on 490 that injured more than 24 people. We'll have the latest on their conditions and the investigation into the cause. Also, the election is over and the outcome has brought out a range of reactions. The one thing experts say you can do to deal with those emotions. And in today's Consumer Alert, new ways to fight the onslaught of robocalls. We show you how to respond without picking up the phone. Those stories new at 5.
This November at Hazleton Auto Mall, we're giving back with you. For every 10 food items you bring in, you'll save $100 off any new or used vehicle purchase, up to $500. Every donation goes to the Open Door mission, helping our community members in need. So while you find your next ride, you'll also be fueling hope right here in Rochester. Family-owned, community-driven. On the corner of Marsh and Fairport Roads in East Rochester and online at Hazleton.com.
For 80 winters, Isaac has been dedicated to keeping your family warm. And this winter is no exception. Right now, get a new Lennox furnace installed and receive up to $1,500 cash back. Visit IsaacHeating.com today.
When people say we're a small campus, we say, yeah, small enough to offer scholarships to all of our students. Small enough to push you to your limit, here, and you know what? Why not here? Small enough to guarantee internships every year for every student in every major. I think you get the idea. That's our advantage, our superpower. So yeah, we're a small campus, and the change that happens here is bigger than you can imagine. Keuka College, small on purpose.
Choose a law firm carefully. The compensation you receive really depends on the lawyer you hire and the reputation of the firm. The best lawyers typically get the best results. So choose wisely. It may be the most important decision you ever make.
Enjoy amazing deals on top mattress brands during Raymore and Flanigan's Veterans Day mattress sale. Save up to $600 on Beautyrest Black, up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic, up to $400 on Sealy, and more. Our mattresses are in stock and ready for free next day delivery. Discover the mattress of your dreams for as little as $15 per month with no interest for 72 months. Transform your sleep and save during Raymore and Flanigan's Veterans Day mattress sale.
This is a 24/7 kind of place, and that's where the Ford Escape SUV comes in, the ultimate getaway vehicle. With available driver assist technologies like pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking, and Bliss, the blind spot information system with cross-traffic alert to help get away from it all. You got this with Ford Escape.
There's no better time to drive home a brand new Escape. Get yours for as little as $369 a month for 36 months.
Go with the pros that know. Go with 5-star improvements.
Your home is your most important investment. If you're considering a home improvement project, make sure you partner with the pros who know.
Now's the perfect time to give your home a new life. Call the pros at 5-Star Improvements today and they'll have a brand new roof installed on your home for as little as $129 a month.
Go with the pros that know. Go with 5-Star Improvements.
3 huge bags, 1 low price. Only for Max Rewards members.
Lynette Adams, weekday mornings on News 10 NBC.
Another 4 years. When Donald Trump returns to the White House, his wife, Melania Trump, will reprise her role as the First Lady. As NBC's Kate Snow reports on people and what they're thinking about what her second stint might look like.
When President Donald Trump returns to the White House for another term in January, Melania Trump will reprise her role as First Lady.
I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Melania, First Lady.
The first 4 years she spent in the White House giving us clues about what a second stint might look like for the wife of the now 47th U.S. president.
Please welcome our next Commander-in-Chief, my husband, President Donald J. Trump.
Melania Trump took pride in overseeing extensive renovations at the White House, writing in her recent memoir, "These projects, executed quietly and without fanfare, were my part of contributing something lasting and beautiful to the American people." She also writes, as First Lady, she was committed to using her platform for the greater good. She created her Be Best initiative to fight online bullying and expanded it to help children affected by the opioid epidemic.
My Be Best initiative was inspired by compassion, strength, and kindness.
After leaving the White House, she created Fostering the Future, an organization that gives scholarships to children in the foster care system. Last month, she told Fox Business if her husband won the election, she would continue that initiative.
I will expand that and add more stuff. I have more ideas.
Mrs. Trump often broke with tradition during her husband's first term in office, remaining in New York City for several months after her husband took office with their then 10-year-old son Barron as he finished school. This time, she's expected to move between the White House, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, and Trump Tower in Manhattan, with now 18-year-old Barron attending college at NYU and living at Trump Tower.
As unconventional as a first lady as her husband is as a president. She's not going to be fit into a box, and she's not going to do what's expected of typical traditional first ladies.
Something she may not be looking forward to as a first lady, the intense media attention she says she received. She famously wore this jacket with the words, "I really don't care, do you?" returning from a trip to a migrant child detention center. Mrs. Trump later telling ABC News it was a message for the media.
And it was for the people and for the left-wing media who are criticizing me, and I want to show them that I don't care.
Though some see her as a reluctant half of a political power couple, she takes the role of First Lady seriously.
Does it ever kind of have these moments where, how did I get here?
Yeah, it's an incredible journey, an incredible story. You never know what can happen in life.
Security is done outside the Trump's home in Palm Beach, Florida, and look at this. The security measures include a robotic dog patrolling the grounds. Do you see it there? A heightened police presence has been in place since Trump pulled off a huge win in the general election, becoming the first Republican candidate to win the popular vote in 20 years. Robo-dog. I wonder if he has a name for him.
Probably. And if not, social media will make one.
Right? We'll have to come up with something. How are we looking for the forecast, Stace?
Pretty good. We are beautiful right now. We're kicking off the weekend on a pretty high note, and then it's going to start to go downhill a little bit. But what you need to know is that we are remaining green on the threat tracker, so no serious or severe weather for us. But we will have a breeze, windy at times on Friday. Saturday is cool, but looking really, really nice. And then Sunday starts off okay, but we have some rain developing by the afternoon. So let's dive into the details here. The winds, they're going to gust anywhere from 30 to 35 miles an hour on Friday, especially during the midday into the middle part of the afternoon. So a few hours of those gusts, that should not be enough to cause any outages. I'm not going to say there are none, because if there's a limb that's ready to go down, sure, a 30-mile-an-hour gust could take that down, but nothing widespread or scattered. Nice start to the weekend, as I mentioned, and then Sunday will start to turn wet. And you might have been hearing about this snowstorm that's happening in the Rockies. Well, that's going to come here with rain. Check out the time-lapse camera here. This is over downtown Rochester, the Genesee River, and there goes the sun dipping below the horizon almost as we speak. Beautiful sky right now, though. It is clear, 54 degrees, wind out of the west at 12 makes it feel just a little bit cooler. And this is the cold front that's going to be moving through as we head into tomorrow. It's going to drop our temperatures off a little bit more. This is that snowstorm I was just telling you about, and they've been getting dumped on in the Rockies here, New Mexico, Colorado Springs, Pueblo seeing some heavy snow. This will eventually work its way into the Great Lakes, but it will be too warm for snow For us, that's our rain on Sunday. Check out your Futurecast here. It takes you into the evening, and we are looking good. Mainly clear sky, temperatures in the 40s. That's it. I think mid-40s by tomorrow morning. Starting off your Friday with a clear sky. But as this cold front settles south, the clouds will start to thicken up. I don't expect any rain with this, but the winds will also pick up. We'll clear things out very quickly with a big bubble of high pressure building in for Saturday, which gives us sunshine, but it'll be chillier sunshine. Again, Sunday starts off with at least a little bit of sun, but that'll fade, giving way to afternoon showers, maybe a few periods of rain. Monday, we clear that out, not completely dry, maybe an isolated shower, but rain chances go down significantly. Tuesday, Wednesday look okay at this point, but I am monitoring our next chance of some weather, primarily rain, perhaps a little chilly enough for some wet flakes in the higher terrain towards the end of next week. Nikki?
All right, thanks, Stace. A near miss caught on camera. Still ahead, the stunning video of a New York State highway worker in the line of danger. And the bells are back. Take a look at that. Coming up, the special delivery today, 1 month before the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris.
Local news and first alert weather with a downtown view. From the News 10 NBC Sky Deck. Powered by Hazleton Auto Mall.